or is it treated as something more routine? But when you think about it, for that individual's life, you can fix a need, but it's hard to fix the loss of a lifetime earnings if you don't have a high school diploma in this competitive economy. And it doesn't just affect that individual, because people who make less money, who have less skills, they make less money, they spend less money, they save less money, they invest less money, and that affects all the businesses in the community. So within Houston, with groups like this, we challenge them, hey, at the beginning of each year, we organize a walk, reach out to dropout, where if you don't show up in school, and you were in school last year, it just can't be the state employees or something. It's got to be our entire community. We knock on the door. We have 1,500 people in our metropolitan area. Knock on every door and find out why that young person did not come back to school. And we bring back over 8,000 in one school district. And then it requires employment opportunities for some of those young people who must work to keep the car payment and the rent payment at the house. And no one employer should be asked to do everything, but if everybody does something, then everything gets done with programs working with the chamber and the business community, and we can talk about Rotary clubs, sororities, fraternities, churches, and congregations. That if employers then track those young people that are working part-time jobs in the school year, I'm not saying a job that's not an entitlement if they're not showing up. It's the best lesson you can have a young person does. So, you warn, good job, you lose your job. I mean, that's a good lesson too. And is there anything wrong with working when you're young? Do you think? I don't think so. I had a job when I was growing up. I was one of these kids always looking for a job. People can get in the habit of work. And then we need to make sure that our schools have programs where they don't have to choose between work and school, where they can take some credit hours at night if they have to work longer hours to keep the lights on, and the rent payment and the car payment for their family, which often you see where there's a single parent and there's several siblings. And we need, there are Saturday hours like we have within community college to accommodate. And then we need to make sure that we don't, how would I say that, we just go, there's those of you may be involved in the educational community, be teachers, be the spouses of teachers, sons and daughters of teachers, aunts and uncles. Ask them what's been going on in a week of high-stakes testing and time work. But we shouldn't just keep sight of one out of many tests given during the school year, but the ultimate sense of accountability of our school community. How successful are we at preparing people to either go on to higher education or to have the skills they need to get a job and become self-sufficient? Too often we've seen sort of, I would say, I think, an underappreciation and underinvestment in career and vocational education, where people can be trained for some of the high-wage jobs. That's not to say that anybody's horizon should be limited by their zip code. But is it acceptable in our state that we have to import nurses from other countries rather than educating Texans to do that job? Where there's chronic shortages of welders and other skilled trades which pays good hours. And don't think it's just the politicians who are going to be responsible for solving that. There got to be people in the business community that are active on the school board and who have friends, like I would hope to do, in state government who say, let's take some of the unfunded mandates and rules and regulations out of Austin off our local school boards so that organizations such as the chamber here, working with the school board, can design programs that fit their community and not have so many mandates that cover everything from who should get what pay raise to what the school calendar should be, to what the school hours should be, to what textbooks they should see, to everything else for their public schools. We need to do this in order to have the workforce that we need to compete and to make sure that the young people that we have with their mix of God-given talents and skills and demands have full opportunity to achieve the dream of every Texan. And that is to be independent and self-sufficient and to enjoy the freedom of some of that economic independence. To me, if we work together as a community, as a state, on those three things, in this preparation of our workforce, making sure that unnecessary taxes are not imposed on the small businesses and the key engines of our job, making sure that we're proud of the fact that we have some natural resources and know-how that other places don't have, then nothing will hold Texas back. You know, my dad came off the farm and was able to go to school in the GI Bill. My mom's mother worked, dropped out of school, and worked stand-up as later became a cosmetician for 50 years, close to minimum wage when they had minimum wage for many of those years. And they had one dream, that we would leave this, that their kids and grandkids would have more opportunity to do this. Isn't that the dream of Texas? I mean, we're a state where we come from different backgrounds, but doesn't matter who your daddy was or your mama was or what first language you had. If you work hard and play by the rules, you're as much a Texan as anybody else. Isn't that right? And in our faith, we're taught that there may be people who have more important jobs, but there's no such thing as a more important person in our state. Now we have more potential than we've ever had before in Texas, because a lot of people, and that's why I worked in voter registration drives in the 60s, because we felt that we wanted a state where nobody was held back based on the stereotype, based on gender or ethnicity or anything else. And now most Texans buy into that. It was a struggle. But as a result of that, we have more economic potential than we've ever had before, because we do not have as much human potential held back by what the cubbyhole that somebody put them in. All we have to do now is to take the tools that are available and have leadership in the chamber, in your mayor's office, in civic organizations, and business development that brings people together from different backgrounds and common goals to get things done. That says no to the leadership that divides Texans and West Texans up into groups and plays group against another in order to further their own ambition. To have leadership that seeks common ground in our state, because all Texans want a better future.